Let's talk about a touchy subject that tends to irritate a lot of people, but also intrigue a lot of people. Hey, hope everyone is doing well. Hayden here, coming back at you with a brand new video. And in this one, I wanted to take a moment to sit here because this is a question that, for whatever reason, maybe I think it's because it's the end of the school year as of right now, I've been getting this question a lot. Should I drop out of school? I had a couple specific ones yesterday, which actually inspired this. Someone specifically, I remember this, they asked me, hey, what did you make sure you had before you dropped out of school? And I really liked that question. I took the time to go ahead and send him back some video replies, just because to me, that's one of the most personal things and the biggest struggles that I had to go through. Not necessarily financially, that was, I'll explain all of this, but more so like emotionally and spiritually and also socially. Because the way that people look at you on something like that, you immediately position yourself as an outcast. When you drop out of college to become an entrepreneur, sometimes it's viewed as like sexy, but it's really not the best thing, okay? So what I want to go through specifically in this video, I'm actually going to show you my report card, which is what you guys saw here on the final year before, I know I'll explain exactly the whole situation, the final year before I actually dropped out of school, where all my grades went to F's all the way down the board. But I also want to talk about, things I had, the issues that I faced, as well as if you should. And now my direct answer to any single person asking me, should they drop out of high school? Okay, we're going to talk about college versus high school. Should you drop out of high school? I immediately yell, no, 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 don't do it. Here's the reason why. Aside and just completely push to the side all the academics, what you're learning, the grades, the academic honors, ignore all of that. The sole reason that I found value, like the positive that I saw in school in my last 12 months in high school, okay, when I was 16, the reason that I found value, and I'm glad that I was aware about this at a young age, I saw that it really helped form discipline, because for me, I was doing something that I didn't want to do. And when you have the decision to either do something you want to do or don't do it, but you do that thing that's good for you, I'm not saying this is a good situation to be in, but doing the thing, in this case school, that was good for you, at least it forced me to be disciplined, okay? Because I had to get it done. So it's something where, my parents were on my butt about, making sure I had decent grades where I would pass. And I was left very often, a little bit stressed out about the work and trying to manage building a business as well, which is basically like having 2 full-time jobs on top of working for money to fund the business. So like 2.5 full-time jobs, which is kind of crazy. 8 hours a day at school, 8 hours a day working, and the rest of a couple hours working to make money, okay, like directly to fund things before it picked up. So what I want to talk about specifically in the start right here is building off of what you said with the no, no, no piece of don't drop out. If you have the option to still be in school while having everything paid for, you're living at home, just do that, okay? I was in that situation where as soon as I was no longer a full-time student, so what my parents told me, I respect them for just straight up telling it to me and holding to it. They said, if you're not a full-time student, you cannot live here. Very simple, right? Very simple rules. All I had to do was be a full-time student and be passing my classes. So what happened when I dropped out of school and, kind of failed out? What happened when that happened? Well, all of a sudden I found myself with 14 days to leave the house. So it kind of forced me to jump in. I'm going to explain what led up to this. However, in most situations, and I want to point this out for people who are either business owners or want to be business owners, there's multiple angles to approach this and all your different starting points. I want to cover them because people make irrational decisions and it can definitely hurt you, okay? So the first thing is, don't be fooled. You can still build a business and you can still make a lot of money while going to school. I will give you multiple examples, okay? A lot of my good friends, Kevin Estevez, Tanner Plains, we've got people, JR Garage, you might have known that, big YouTube channel. He was still going to high school while making millions. The dude had a warehouse full of cars, building his businesses. There's multiple people I know who have finished school. Ricky Gutierrez, actually I don't know if he's still a student, but making millions and millions and millions of dollars while still going, he was in college. However, there's multiple different situations I can think of where people were able to not only build but maintain while still going to school. So at the end of the day, there's no excuse for anything. It's not one or the other. School is only 8 hours. Let's call it 10 with your homework. You can still immediately go put in 8 hours of work as long as you're hustling, okay? It's really as simple as that. You have to be dedicated. It's the discipline. If you're actually going to end up building something that will ultimately be successful and lead to a life of you being able to do that for a career, a financial career, then you're not going to be the person who's making an excuse, right? So I took what I had. I took the opportunity to build a business while I was in school. Now, here's how I personally structured it. I switched in 10th grade. 10th grade was my last year of going to physical high school. So what I did, after 10th grade in the summer, because my parents were big on school, they were like, all right, you can do some online classes in the summer. If you manage to pass those, then we'll let you test it this next year without going to school, doing full curriculum online, okay? With like one of the best rated online schools. So it was at least very close to an equivalent of having the regular high school there. I was like, fair deal. So I did 2 classes over the summer. I got the best grades in my life. I got an A and a B. And they were astounded because I was always like a C and D student. And I definitely made sure on purpose that I got those good grades, because then I was immediately able to jump into the full-time school this next year, which was amazing. Not having to go to school for a year, I was mind-boggled at the amount of freedom. So it's kind of funny because I consecutively just failed the whole next year, every single class basically, barely skated by. I ended up starting paying people to do it for me, or let's just say publicly, to help me with it, right? So, getting tutoring, let's just say another level of tutoring, okay? So I was able to, not really have to worry about the school end of things while still building the company. So what ultimately ended up happening, I was not able to keep up with the workload with school. I ended up failing out. There was I think 2 weeks left of school before that year was over, and I was 3 or 4 months behind. There was no chance it would happen. So I just kind of gave up, completely stopped doing everything. And then, as soon as, January 26th, I remember that date. As soon as that date hit, then my parents came up to me, talked to me because I was no longer a full-time student. I was kicked out of that school. And yeah, I had 14 days to leave the house. So let me explain what led up to this point. During that 1 year, or the year of not going to school when school was going on, but doing online school while I was failing and not doing anything, and I'll show you my report card here in a moment. The things that happened during that time were directly financial related, okay? I was taking everything I'd learned and applied over the last few years, and I put it in one place, focused all my energy and attention, my full energy and attention, and I really, really scaled it up. I started mastering the e-commerce end of things. I was already making a little bit of money for the last 2 years. And I was stacking it, I was saving it away and just investing it back into learning. I was spending it, getting scammed, just doing business things with the money. No personal, zero. Still to this day, I've not bought or spent a single dollar worth of Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, any single designer thing ever. And you might be like, oh, well, that's hypocritical, you have a Lamborghini. I get everyone has their own priorities, but to me, a luxury good like clothing where it will depreciate is just a waste of money, okay? That's my own personal choice. However, I was not spending any money personally. I was putting it into the business, okay, and this is when I was 16, 17, and I started really scaling things up with the e-commerce side of things. I was just sitting in my room, running ads, running e-commerce stores, selling products online through Shopify. So that's what I was really focusing on. And then right around the time I was moving out, it was 2 months after I moved out, I'll explain that in a second, that's when I started really launching the teaching end of things as well, which was a whole other business model that had really, really interested me. So what I did for about that year where I started making a lot of money with e-commerce, I actually bought my BMW M4 while I was still living at home in Minnesota. Okay, and so I mentioned that the school ended and I unfortunately had the issues there with not graduating on January 26th. It was November 6th that year before, 3 months prior, when I bought the BMW M4. So I never showed my parents anything money-wise. I didn't tell them what I did. They did not have access to my bank accounts. I actually had my grandpa co-sign. I'm gonna tell a little story here in a moment. I had my grandpa co-sign for the business because my parents were not willing to do so. So they didn't actually know what I was doing at all. They weren't able to see numbers, and I never wanted anyone to. My grandpa is not one to check or even know how to. I actually just bought him a car this last week for signing when I was 16, which is an amazing thing. I appreciate him so much for doing that. He definitely deserves that car. So the whole situation that kind of unfolded there, I can only assume that my parents assumed I had a little bit of money. I went and bought a flashy little fun sports car. I wasn't really spending money. I was traveling a decent amount. I was probably gone half the time. They'd call me. I'd be like, where are you? We didn't see you downstairs in your room. And I'm like, oh, I'm in Florida or I'm in LA. So, clearly doing that a little bit, I'm sure they had a sense of whatnot. But I typically kept a little bit quieter about things. That's something I always tried to do. So when it came time to do it, I don't think they actually thought I was going to move out. And I just said, okay, and I was gone. On the 13th day I left. I put all my stuff in my car, I shipped my car to LA, and I flew out there and I moved. So it was kind of a crazy thing that happened. I was actually on the phone with my grandpa yesterday as to when I'm filming this, following up with him, switching the title into his name for the car that I bought him. And he was mentioning, because he always watches my YouTube videos, he loves these, by the way. If you're watching, hello. Him and his friends watch it. They're in the category of, pretty much all of them are 75 plus. He just turned 80, which is basically a 21st birthday, and I bought him that car for his birthday. However, his friend group actually watches my videos, which is awesome. And they commented while I was on the phone. He's like, hey, all my friends were, applauding you for that credit video you did a week ago. Genius. They're like, clapping for you. You're so smart, like learning that stuff. We can't believe that schools don't teach that. And I was like, yeah, it was never brought up once. It was not ever brought up to me in my entire high school path one time. And to me, that's disgusting. It's like actually repulsive. Because if you look up the statistics of debt, people get into issues with credit cards, the age categories that do that, the amount of millennials who do versus don't have cards, learning how to do proper cards, learning what debt is good versus bad. That's one of the most important things in life. So to me, the fact that he told me, he literally said the school system's broken, I can't believe they say all that, or don't say these things and don't teach you that, nobody there's qualified to teach. He said they're a bunch of bozos. I was like, someone who just turned 80, right, who went through the school system a long time ago, if someone who turned 80 and all of his friends who are in that similar age category agree that the current modern school system is broken, flawed, and disgusting, well, that kind of validates what I already knew. And so for certain situations, you just have to complete it, right? Be an attorney, be a lawyer. If that's what you want to do, then go to school, obviously. But there's certain situations where it's not always the best. And what you're learning, again, what I mentioned at the beginning, kick all the curriculum to the side, just strictly the discipline is going to be the best thing for you. That, to me, there's a reason I'm able to work anywhere from 14 to 17 hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week, 364 days a year. I take one day off every single year as of last year, okay? That's it. So for me, it's something where I always kind of saw this. I always knew it. And I'm just glad I was aware. So I want to revamp this and kind of, or not revamp, I want to re-loop back to this whole core thesis of this video. Should you drop out of school? In this situation, this goes for both college and high school, please be logical, especially if you have someone like your family funding something or through the school with loans, you're able to pay for school, which is a terrible idea. It's a very, very bad type of debt to get into. However, obviously high school is not going to tell you about how that debt is structured, because then you probably won't go to college, which means they're not making money. I mean, business is one of the most school is one of the most profitable businesses. It's the best business model, right? You get into debt for school, which you'll approve just about anyone for, literally anyone. And then you can never get out of that debt ever, even if you declare bankruptcy. The school is a partner with the government. It's insane. It's genius. So it's the biggest scam. There's no refund option. You can't charge it back. It's terrible. So in my situation, in my opinion, be logical. If you are not making money consistently to the point where you have disposable money in the bank, you've been making money for at least 6 months or more, and you have 2 different income streams, minimum. Either of them can support you individually, right? Support all your expenses. At that situation, it could potentially make sense to consider leaving school. Okay, and I want to be as specific with my wording as possible in here, because I really, really don't want anyone to jump the gun and make a bad decision. Because trust me, if I had not figured out the e-commerce stuff and made it click, like it was kind of clicking when I left physical school and did online, but that year I really shot the gap and I took a big risk. And I would have liked to have not taken such a big risk. But you know what? It put my back against the wall. It forced me to do it, and I can't complain because I got the desired outcome I wanted. It's really simple as that. So right now, I'm actually going to throw up a screenshot of this report card here. I'm not doing this to brag or to put myself down. I just want to throw up a screenshot of it. You guys can take a look at it. These are my classes. These are my grades. Quarter 1, C, B, D-, F, D-. That was when I was still like trying to manage it. And that next one is where I just completely gave up and stopped after that semester. So just straight Fs all the way down the board, which is unfortunate to say the least. And at that point I left. I moved to LA, which is crazy. And for those of you who have been here on my channel for a while, hopefully you've seen some of that journey. I mean, when I moved out, I was 17. I couldn't even sign a lease. I had to rent out a bedroom. It was in my friend's place. He had a nice place in California. However, I just got a place there, and then I went and I was trying to get my own place. I was trying to get a house in the Hollywood Hills with one of my good buddies and business partners who, we were around there looking for a month and a half. And houses there are not cheap. Like, you will very easily, at a minimum, spend 6 figures a year on rent. And so we were trying to get a house. there was not really anything that we wanted, that we liked, so we decided to go travel. I went overseas for 3 months. We went together with a small group of friends, as well as I flew out a videographer, and it was cool. I came back after 3 months because it was my dream to live in California. He had already lived there for longer, so he wanted to continue on. He kept traveling for an additional 3 months, so 6 months. He came back. I'd already got a place on the beach in California, which was amazing. I'd already been working there for a few months, just getting my grind going, and he moved in with me there, and we still have that place to this day. I don't live there. I haven't been there in a long time. I've been there for 1 day in the last 3 months. However, we still have it. It's an amazing spot. Definitely really good vibes out in California. I just personally don't live there at the moment, okay? California, one of my favorite places on earth. Okay, Bali is also one of my favorite places. I'll actually be back there in a few weeks. However, that whole story and how it transpired, and now, me at least holding my residence in Arizona for the most part, just because I'm putting a headquarters to 2 of my companies out here. I'm building here, then I will definitely be back there for a certain amount of time, kind of go wherever it takes me. But please, the whole point, I wanted to, as best as possible in a short amount of time, because I don't want to waste your time, go through. And I wanted to explain that situation, my story, a couple of little things I've done, and my thoughts on it, because I've been getting this question a lot. I seriously believe it's because it's kind of the end of the school year right now. People are getting let off for the summer, and I want you to be careful. Like, seriously, spend the summer, be productive, build something you want to do. It doesn't matter if it's an online business. It can be a friggin' restaurant or a mobile detailing company. The kid who comes and details my cars, okay, first of all, he comes to me with a van that has a whole water tank, the whole 9 yards. Kid's probably 20. Okay, he's 20, charges me $50 a car. Okay, I just get all my cars washed. I'll just put them out front. He's done in like 2 hours. Amazing job. $50 a car to come to you. Amazing deal. But he can go do that for a couple people a day. He's making 8 to 10 grand a month in cash, which means he does not have to claim that as income tax-free. Boom. So there's so many different things you can do. There's so many ways to make money. Whatever you decide to do, whatever your passion is, I hope that you follow that and it leads to profit, okay? So with that being said, I know this video is a little bit more like a personal opinion, a personal story, as well as some controversial stuff, but you can look into the facts. I mean, the facts are scary about school, debt, all that stuff. That is my opinion. That is my story. I did not go to college. I have no experience with that. However, my situation with, again, fortunately and unfortunately, dropping out of high school, that's kind of the basic outline of my opinion on it and my story, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop in the comments down below your thoughts, your opinion on the whole current modern school system. I definitely know for a fact, I know it's flawed. It's kind of disgusting. It is repulsive for almost every single person who goes through it. Almost, okay? So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like down below. It's really all I ask. Show some support. Let me know you like this type of content. With that being said, if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We got the plaque back here to remind you, go ahead and subscribe. It is 100% free to like and subscribe on the video, all right? Other than that, again, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Peace.